to the world, you might be one person, but to one person, you might be the world.
I love that.
And you know, guys, we can affect one agent at a time. We can be the world to them. Mm-hmm. And I want all of us at EXP to never forget that. Yep. And go have some fun. Go have a lot of fun, not just a little fun. Yeah. And affect people's lives like no other. Thank you guys for letting me be on. I appreciate it.
Here's the big question.
How are agents like us,
who didn't get an opportunity to invest in a franchise early,
who are spending time and money to sell homes,
building someone else's saleable asset?
How do we grow a business but still build wealth?
Have an exit strategy
and get a piece of the pie that's not dependent
on us working more hours and every weekend?
That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answer.
My name is Jay Kinder.
My name is Al Stasek.
And I'm Michael Reese. We are your hosts, and welcome to the OneBigFire podcast. If you want to build a business, if you want proven systems and a process that gives you time back so you can invest your time where it matters, if you want clarity of exactly what you need to do next, or you want a plan so you're not starting every month at zero, go to www.partnershipsurvey.com. Learn how you can partner with the dream team that has helped more agents exponentially grow their business and profits without having to pay us a dime. So go take the survey at partnershipsurvey.com.
All right, everybody, here we are, and we are here with the legend, Gene Frederick, myself, and Michael Reese. And let me tell you something. This is one of the most amazing people that I've ever met. It's definitely been extremely valuable to me as a mentor. And really, as we've been on this journey with EXP, he's been, he's the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time. He's been one of the top recruiters in the nation since the early days of Keller Williams, and now leading the way here at EXP. And he's been extremely valuable to help us build an army of agents at EXP and add a ton of value to people's lives and make a difference and, make an impact in the world. So I'm super happy to be here with our good friend, Gene Frederick. How are you doing today, Gene?
Oh, Jay, Michael, how are you guys? I'm excited to be here as well.
Awesome.
I'm excited, man. I'm super stoked that you made this happen. We recently launched the OneBigFire podcast we recently launched the OneBigFire podcast, and our goal really is to give back to the community, specifically the people who understand the power of collaboration and abundance mindset, which I really think is, Gene, believe it or not, that's when I think of you, man, I think of a guy who's just trying to add value and really come from a place of love. So, man, I'm not only am I glad to be mentored and be able to be in the room with you, I'm just looking forward to this journey. You said that, that little map behind Jay's shoulder was too small. We're thinking too small. But before we get into the United States and the exciting things that are starting, with EXP internationally, why don't we go back to the beginning, man? Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, thank you guys for having me on today. And I didn't even know, it's funny, it's part of my story. I was with RE/MAX in the 80s. Realty executives in the early 90s. I started my own company. I was 29 years old and thought I knew everything after 5 years in real estate. I know a lot of you all didn't think that. And so opened up my own franchise in 1989, ran that for 5 years, had a couple hundred agents. I sold it in 1994. Best thing I ever did was sell that doggone franchise. And then I joined a small little company. My wife and I, Susan, were two of the first 10 agents in Dallas for a small company called Keller Williams. And so in 1994, we're in the DFW area. We were with Keller for 21 years. I'll just go through the whole thing. We sold, then we became team leaders, then we became regional directors, then we became owners of franchises. We actually owned 6 of the franchises. And I used to own Northern California and Hawaii as a region. In 1998, we bought that and started developing it. So that's my history. And then lo and behold, 4.5 years ago, in late 2014, Susan and I were retired. And I always tell people we were in our third last home. If you guys have ever experienced this, we're kind of got all the money we've ever really in our lifetime ever expected to come in from ownership of real estate franchises and regions. And then I meet this guy named Glenn Sanford. And to tell you guys the story, 2 of my agents, Jill Liebernight and Elizabeth Riley, are the ones that introduced me. And this is usually what happens in real estate. I didn't find it. two of my agents said, Gene, could you check this out for me? And I said, well, sure. I'm retired. I don't have anything to do, Michael. What am I going to do? And so Glenn comes into town in Austin, Texas. And I'm telling you what, Michael, I've never had a conversation where I connected so well, so quick with a guy, because we had both been in the business for such a long time that when he explained to me the model of EXP, I went, and I can remember spending all day with him. I went back to Susan. I said, you know what, Susan? This guy invented the model I've always wanted to invent for real estate agents. And then I was dumb enough, to research it for 5 months. Because, 4.5 years ago, you guys know this, the stock price over the counter stock on EXPI was 12 cents a share.
Holy moly. Yeah.
So dummy Gene, I have to analyze like all of us, right? So I analyzed for 5 months and I come back. By then the stock price is 40 cents a share. I already thought I blew it. And I said, okay, Glenn, I'm in. And some of you all have heard this story, but if you've been in the business for a long time, I want you to read a book called Blink by Malcolm Gladwell. It's very, very important, because if you've been doing something for a very long time, like myself, at that time I'd been in the business 31 years. When I saw the model, my blink was, it's going to work. It only had 300 agents when I saw it. By the time I made the move, it was 400 agents. But when you think about it, you think, well, Gene, did you know it was going to work? I said, yes. Well, here's what happened. 5 months later, I come back to Susan, my beautiful wife, Susan. I said, honey, guess what? And she goes, what? And I said, if you knew Netflix existed, would you own a Blockbuster? And she said, no. And I said, well, we own 6 of them. And a big one called a Region. And she laughed and she goes, no, what do you mean? I said, I just found the company that's going to revolutionize our industry. And it's called EXP Realty. And the company's EXPI. This Glenn Sanford guy is just a genius. I started just talking about him and Jason Guessing. And she goes, what do you mean? I said, we got to sell everything. Now, guys, try that out for size. Just go to your wife after you've been doing something for 31 years and say, honey, sorry, let's just sell everything. Just try that. Just so you know, Michael, she was not all about it. I mean, I laugh because I look now, it was only 4 years ago, but she kind of looked at me and, I really did this. I'm not told this story a lot. I told Glenn yes. I told Jason yes. I started selling my franchises. Took me 5 weeks to sell 6 franchises in a region. And about halfway through, I look at Susan. I said, Susan, if you don't want me to do this, I won't do it. And you know what? She said, go ahead. And you guys have all had, we all adore our spouses. And really, if she would have said, no, don't do it, what would I have done?
I would
have not done it. And I want you guys to know we all have buyer's remorse. We all have, should I move companies? Oh, well, guess what? I had it too. And thank heaven she said, yes, go for it. And of course, in 4 years, it's been a blessing to me. It's been a blessing to agents. And I'm so glad you brought that up in the beginning. This is about real estate agents. Real estate agents, period. We're the only real estate agent-driven company in America, period. It's that simple. Everybody else is franchise-driven or owner-driven. It's just big difference.
We have to unpack that, because I think this is where I think most people don't realize why this was so disruptive. And so when you go back to owning, a RE/MAX franchise and owning the Keller Williams franchises, talk about the difference in owning a region, because that, the fact that we're one company, across the world instead of a franchise model changes everything. So what was the benefit of being in a regional owner? How did you get compensated, for instance, as a regional owner? Because that's a big opportunity that really doesn't exist anymore for most people, right?
Exactly, Jay. And I think it's the only model we all knew. Because the only model we ever knew is either in an independent company, like a lot of you guys are in towns where there's a big independent. Right. I was in Dallas, Fort Worth, where Ebby Holiday was huge, right? I mean, Ebby's been around since 1947. They just recently got bought out by Berkshire Hathaway.
Right.
But how I describe it, Jay, is there's always been a fight over the dollar. The brokers are up here. They own it.
Right.
Either it's an independent or a franchise. And then here's the agent down here. It's tops down. I don't know either which way to look at it.
Right.
And there's always been a fight over the dollar. So the agent goes, pay me more. Hey, RE/MAX disrupted everything in the 80s by paying 100%.
Right.
I went to RE/MAX in the 80s because it was the only one that would pay me 100%. It had nothing to do with ownership because we all knew who owned it, Jay. Who owned everything.
The agent owns their business, but the brokerage is owned by, whoever owns the brokerage, right?
So in franchises, what I tell folks is in franchises, they took money off the top. Doesn't matter if it's Realogy, RE/MAX, Keller Williams. They take money off the top. And who do they give it to?
They give
the
it
owner.
to the owner. And my understanding, you correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is a portion of that revenue is shared also with the regional owner.
Yeah. Well, I was a regional owner. That's the person you want to be.
Right.
Either the franchisor or the regional owner, because they're the ones that get money off the top before the agent gets anything.
Right.
Okay. Only model I ever knew. When Glenn said, the first time I met with him, he said, Gene, we're not going to do that. I actually asked him, Jay, you're going to laugh. In my first meeting with him, I said, boy, I really like this. How much is it going to cost me to buy Texas?
Right.
And he goes, it's not for sale. I said, what do you mean it's not for sale? See, that's all I knew.
Right.
Right? Let me buy Texas so I can have a territory, so I can have something to own. Well, he said, we're not going to have it. And I went, oh, this is, I'll tell you what, right away, I was like, blink, agents are going to love this. So you mean I can attract agents all over the world, not just in Texas? Because see, franchises to me, guys, when I owned them, if you look up the word franchise in the dictionary, it says limited opportunity. You get this little part of Oklahoma City, you get this little part of Dallas, you get this little part of New York, and you get to grow that territory. Oh my gosh, how restrictive is it?
Right.
Right? So then when Glenn said, are you kidding, Gene? We can go worldwide with this. Agents, and here's what he said to me that I didn't understand for a few months. Agents are going to attract other agents.
Right. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, one thing I think that you in the story that I've had the luxury to hear is if you kind of go back a little bit, you had already had that aha because because when I talk to agents a lot of the times, they don't realize they're in the recruiting business at some point in their career if they're going to be successful because really, this is the opportunity business. Keller Williams was just creating an opportunity for people that you saw because the paradigm is you went from agent to, hey, I could be making additional revenue stream. And the story I think goes back and at that time was just to help put your kids through college.
Right. Oh yeah. We had 5 kids. I had 5 kids in college at the same time. Okay. And the only way I knew to have any residual income, I call it residual, we can read, Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant and look at the EBSI and everything. And I really think that's the best one to read because we all stay in our world in the E and the S, right? Being an employee or self-employed. Right. Until we go to owning a business, which is when I bought the franchises, I thought that's what I was doing, right? Yep. Or investments. And of course at KW, it was profit share. Susan and I did get into the profit share because I thought, well, that'd be a good thing. Right. It just wasn't that much money. I had to own businesses, franchises to make any massive residual income to put 5 kids through college, right? While I was selling real estate or while I was managing a company. The bottom line is this. Nobody has ever seen this model. I mean, when I say it, we're the only one. And Jay, you said it the best. I think you say it better than anybody that I've seen, is that for the first time in the industry, we're aligned with each other. Every agent is aligned. There's no ownership up here and you're down here and you're fighting over the money and give me more, or I'll go to another company.
Right.
But Leslie, that's what we all did.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
Hey, if you don't pay me more commission, I go to RE/MAX. If you don't pay me more commission, I go to Berkshire Hathaway. And then, of course, the other companies, what are they fighting over? Well, I'll pay you more.
Right.
I'll buy you for a few years.
Right.
Well, this is the first time ever, and that's why I noticed it early. That's why I was very, very confident that if I could explain it to agents the right way, they would go, oh, I like that. You mean I get money off the top, not the owner? The owner gets money off the top.
Right.
Glenn
I always go back to Shark Tank and, the deal at the end of the table, the last thing, Mr. Wonderful is going to make an offer on, and it's going to be a royalty deal because he has, it's off the top. That company doesn't have to be tremendously successful or profitable for that matter. And he's getting paid anyways. And that's the deal he always wants to make. And so if that really, really smart business people are always looking for the same deal that's being offered here, which is a revenue share off the top. It is a royalty off the top. That that's a sign that this is something really, really good. So I think hopefully we're explaining this in a way that people understand why it's disruptive. Is if there wasn't a cloud-based office that removed the need for a regional owner to go sell franchisees, to go get agents, recruit agents to come to a company, then there wouldn't have been the ability to flip the model and say, hey, why don't we allow the agents? Why don't we just allow those agents to recruit, and we'll just give them that same opportunity that regional guy used to have, because we don't need them. We don't need all that cost and infrastructure. We can afford to change the model in a way that the agent benefits. The agent becomes the owner, and the agent benefits in the ownership opportunity, the revenue share, and all of those other benefits. And when you do that in a way that it aligns you with everybody in the company, that's when that's the magic sauce that I think a lot of people don't see, is like, oh, you guys are my business partners. Like, we're going to talk to you regularly. We're going to be spending time with you. You're going to really help us be successful in selling real estate and growing this opportunity. So it's fascinating. It's the most fascinating thing I've ever seen. It's the most fun I've ever had. It's the best company I've ever experienced or been a part of. It really is truly amazing. And it's awesome that you saw it like you did.
Well, it's so funny that you use Shark Tank. I use Shark Tank a lot because when they're interviewing people, they'll say, hey, is it a disruptive technology? And
Right.
The way Netflix disrupted that whole industry with Blockbuster is with streaming video, right? You have to have a disruptive technology. So the number one thing when Glenn showed me this, he goes, Gene, we're going to get rid of all the bricks and mortar, all the regions, all the regional ownership, all this stuff we don't need. We don't need bricks and mortar in our industry. And he says, we've got a cloud office. And I went, oh man, show that to me. And I'm telling you, I was hooked. And guys, you know me, I'm not the most techie guy on earth. But when he showed it to me, I went, that'll work. Agents are going to love that.
Yep.
And that's the key to it. So our disruptive technology, it starts with that. If we didn't have a disruptive technology, everybody would go, well, how are you doing business with no bricks and mortar? I said, well, here it is. We have an office. It's the biggest misnomer that everybody says. Well, how do you have collaboration? How do you have all this stuff? How do you have culture without an office? I go, whoa. We have an office. Let me show it to you. And then when I show it to them, they go, oh, that is cool. I have agents, Jay, in the first 4 months of this year have told me they have 17 sales in 4 months. And they said, Gene, 10 of my sales were from agents I met in the cloud office.
Yep.
And I went, that is, you got to spread the word.
I got a referral yesterday from somebody that I met in workplace.
Right. So we have a vehicle. And then, guys, you can read all the technology books. I've got a lot of them of what's going to happen the next 10, 15, 20 years. We're on the beginning of the technology age. This isn't the end. We're starting it, right? So people are going to want answers quick. They're going to want to be able to go and they're not going to have to drive in their car, get in, drive to an office, get dressed. Guys, I don't know about you, but we came yesterday from spending the day at the beach, and we came back and there's a box at my door. It's amazing. Boxes just show up with stuff. There's a box at my door every day.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So that's the way business, and I knew that from running real estate offices and loving real estate agents like I do. I've coached and managed them like you guys have for years. They want answers quick. Guys, in 2007, something happened.
Yep. The old iPhone.
This changed our world. And when agents go, they need an office, I go, how do you do business? I don't know about you, but I can do everything on that cell phone. I don't call it a cell phone, right?
Right.
Most of the time I call it a camera. Get out of my way. Don't touch my camera. I told my wife yesterday, don't touch my camera.
Right.
So that's the difference. So you got to go back to, we're the only national company, like you said, all 50 states. By the end of the year, we'll be in all provinces in Canada. We just announced that we're going to open up the United Kingdom, Australia. Well, how do we do that in our 10th year? This is just our 10th year.
When I go back and think about 2007, which is when the iPhone came out, and the fact that Glenn in 2009, 2 years later, that seems like it wasn't that long ago, but that was really early in an idea for creating a cloud-based office.
Yeah.
I mean, he was seeing way around the corner, which is just what I love about Glenn. is, he's way many steps ahead of the way I was thinking about it, at least in terms of, I just wouldn't have saw it. I wouldn't, in 2009, I would have never saw that as the opportunity. It was brilliant.
Well, when I tell you the story that when I met Glenn, he started the company I wanted to start. In 2012, I wrote a business plan for a new company to go nationwide just for fun. I don't know you guys. Sometimes I get on plane rides and I go, what would agents want? I do that all the time. So I wrote this business plan out. I can show it to you, Jay, right now. Michael, I can show it to you. And it is Glenn's plan. When I met him, I lined it up and I went, oh my gosh. National company, no bricks and mortar, I wrote down. Number 2, agent ownership. Everybody has to have stock. I was going to start a company with stock in the beginning. And number 3 is, as you guys know, revenue share. I mean, when you allow agents to grow the company rather than owners, get out of the way. Everybody goes, how's it working? I go, I never thought I'd be sitting with Michael, Reese, and Jay Kinder someday on a podcast describing a brand new model. In fact, I know the day I talked to Al, and Al said, I think I can get Jay and Michael. And man, I said, you get those two, and our world has changed. I mean, I said that to him. You can really get Jay and Michael? Yeah. I said, I think I can. 6 months later, I'm meeting you. Wow.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And it's because of the people like you and Brent Gove and the people that are genuinely wanting to help people get better that attracts people like us. And we attract the same type of people. And so what I'm seeing is it's the most congruent group of people I've ever been a part of. Like in terms of, and it's you when you're building a company and you talk about, okay, well, bricks and mortar, and you got this culture, and you got core values and all these things and everything. But like when you truly attract, and have alignment with the folks that you're bringing in, you don't bring people in that you don't want to work with. So you only bring the kind of people in you want to spend time with. So, we've been blessed to be around, you guys and the people that you guys that brought us in, and we're bringing in people we're attracting people just like us. That's why it's called agent attraction is people that want to grow and get better and that are positive, forward-thinking people, and they look for the solution, not the problem. And that's the kind of company this is.
Well, go ahead, Michael.
Well, what I was going to say is one thing that I think is most people don't understand, and I think you were going there, is, and I'm just going back to some of the ahas I had when I've seen you speak, Gene, was that you said it took you guys 5 years. You were kind of responsible for helping bring KW into Dallas, and it took you 5 years to get your first 100 agents, correct?
Correct.
And so what you were saying was, because of the model, you have to, and I worked with Karen Wonderlick, bless her heart. She was an amazing woman, one of my mentors. She's no longer with us, but she was an amazing woman. And, when you would go into a market, you would have to build a building, lease a building, go find all these people, and before you could even get the approved to go in there, because you had to have your package submitted with all of your commitments and LOIs. And so like that process was just at a snail's pace. What we can go into a country now, and all of those things we don't have to consider because those aren't constraints. And so it gives us an unfair advantage. We can not only go into Dallas, we can go into Dallas, Houston, San Antonio. We can go into El Paso, Waco, every single city in Texas. And most people don't understand that because of our brokerage, because of the actual model that allows us to have that kind of more agile kind of business launching strategy. I mean, at the very core, at the high level, we pick Australia. We're not saying, okay, a normal company, if they pick Australia, they got to, what city are we going to start? We can just say, we're going to, if we get these things in place, we can move faster.
Yeah, and that's the key to it. That's when I talk to owners, they understand it a little bit more than agents, Michael, because agents haven't been in that. They go, well, how do I attract people? We call it attraction. And I said, well, we'll teach you. It's just a different skill. You know how to work with buyers and sellers. I'll teach you how to attract. They go, well, I know an agent. I got to tell you this. I have an agent in Dallas. She goes, I'm not going to do attraction, Gene. I'm just going to sell homes. I know you get these, right?
Yep.
It was hysterical. And she's been literally a top producer all her life. And the first thing I said, well, first thing you have to do is change your status on Facebook and LinkedIn. She goes, okay. Well, the first call she gets is a Sotheby's agent from Massachusetts. that does about 30 million a year she hasn't even talked to in 5 years. And the Sotheby's agent goes, well, yeah, I want to join in like 3 days. And she goes, well, I had no idea. And I said, well, look, you have connections through your social media that you've never known you have, and people follow you. And you just need to let the word out. So that's what I want you to understand, is that if we let agents attract other agents, and Jay, I'm so glad you brought it up. 4 years ago, I've only been with the company 4 years. I looked at Glenn and Jason. I said, I don't know about you. I'm going after top people. I like working with top agents. It's awesome to me. When I work with top agents, they got business. They think business first. They think of their family. They think of their team. They think of their team more than they think of themselves, the big agents. I said, I want to go after them. They said, okay, let's do that. So we did a little thing called an icon program, where if you pay in your $16,000, you can get the $16,000 back in stock. We started that 4 years ago. It was all because we sat down and went, well, how do we attract the top people? Boom. So it's a company of top agents first, which I think most people don't understand. Most franchises have to go the opposite way. That's why it took us 5 years to get to 100 agents in Dallas for KW. 1994 to 1999 was because we had to go after new agents and hope they stayed.
Right. What was the biggest challenge you had then that you don't have anymore? You're going to laugh at this, but we just came back from our shareholders meeting, right? And I always ask people, because I've been to 4 years of this now. I said, what'd you like about our company, that shareholders meeting? And then of course, we have a convention in October. We do 2 big events a year. And I hear it every time, Michael. That felt really good. There weren't any owners in the room. There weren't any regional directors in the room. There wasn't the person saying, oh, wait, how is she dressed? Why aren't they sitting with that group? Because when we did it, we had to get our teams together, and our office was over here in the region. And it's really funny. The biggest thing is we are all one. We call it Team EXP, right? It's Team EXP. It's not our town against your town. And that's what most companies do. Hey, number 1 is San Francisco, or number 2 is, and they pit everybody against each other. And I just noticed it the last couple times. I'm sitting with other people I don't know at the meetings. I'm mingling with so many people that I've never met. And they go, gosh, I can't believe I'm with you. And I said, I can't believe I'm with you. This is a pleasure to be with you. Who are you? And we get to know each other at a different level. There's no politics. I really think it's Glenn. Glenn knew it. Glenn is a genius. I'll tell you, Jay and Michael, every day, like you said, Jay, how did he figure this out in 2009?
Yeah.
How did he do it? Well, he only invented the stock part of it in 2013.
Yeah.
We did a reverse merger.
That makes sense. I mean, you're always evolving until you get it nailed, but like it is nailed like now. I mean, there's no question about it. Anytime you see something growing this fast, you've definitely nailed the business model.
Yeah, so I even asked him, why did you start the company in 2013? He said, Gene, I had to think bigger. And that's what we're talking about in this podcast. How big do you think? Do you guys think generational wealth? I do.
Yep.
Revenue share is generational wealth. It's not generational wealth. I call it generational freedom.
Right. Yeah.
So quit thinking about just selling a home or taking a listing and making money right now. And how could you, with stock in a company, shares of stock in a company, and revenue share, we all can become free. And it's generational wealth I'm looking after.
It's funny, being in the business, now 22 years, when I was selling, the most real estate I ever sold, you can sell 50 homes in a month, but that clock starts over again on the first. And, the skills that it takes to learn to build a business, whether it's, selling your first, 5 homes in a month or it's selling 50, are no different than the skills it takes for you to have a conversation with someone about joining EXP. And so, when you can create a passive income, and this is the thing that I find in most of the rooms that I'm speaking to agents and to get them to think about where you want to be in the next 10 years. I mean, like 10 years is going to fly by in this industry, and most people know that. But they don't get really clear on like, well, how much passive income do I need to be at in order to be able to live more free? And then what is the plan that I'm on to get there? And does it have everything it needs for me to be able to maximize the time that I'm spending to be able to get free? And I think that if you start there and look at it from that perspective, and you really do a self-assessment of where you're at in the track you're on, and then you look at EXP, then you see you see it a lot more clearly that, hey, this is a vehicle for me to get free. And it's just a choice, right? I mean, it's a choice. And when you have people to help you do it, I think there's a lot more confidence in your ability to accomplish those goals too.
Well, it's just a choice. I'm so glad you bring that up, because everybody thinks it's going to be massively hard to move companies. It's not. All your business will follow you. We've all done it. I've been at 4 major real estate companies and over my years, and I sold at a pretty high level. I was top 20 in the state for RE/MAX when I sold.
Right.
All my people moved.
Yep.
They followed me. I kept track of my people.
Yep.
I was one of those agents that, we always know that 80% of the people don't use the same realtor 5 years later, but my people followed me.
Right.
So don't worry about EXP is the best business model for entrepreneurs ever invented. I really believe it'll probably be copied in other businesses.
I agree. I think that's the next phase of this for sure.
Right. Because other businesses could use it, not just real estate. Hey, I know, Michael, I've heard you say it before, but when we are so aligned, and Jay, so aligned, you guys call me, I jump. Brent Gove calls me, I jump. Wilco just called me yesterday. I got 2 interviews today I'm doing with him. It is so much fun to work with people that, number one, love real estate agents. I want to bring this up. This is agent-driven company, period. And most companies say they're agent-centric. I have no idea what that means. I really don't. I laugh because they go, well, we're agent-centric. I said, well, who owns the company? The owner. Who gets money off the top? The agents and the owner. I said, well, how's that agent-centric? What's centric mean to you? You got to have ownership. And you guys have heard me say this. If you owned Coca-Cola stock, how much Pepsi you drinking?
That's right.
Right? Dudes, we all have stock together. We get stock on our first sale. We get stock when we cap. We get stock when we sponsor an agent. We get stock when we become an icon. We can take 5% of our commissions and buy stock at a 20% discount. Okay, game over. Literally, when I met Glenn and he showed me that, I said, you mean we're agents. We get stock? He goes, yeah. And I said, game over.
You know what's funny? Because I just looked up this, right? You know what this is right here? This is a rental. This is a check for rent on one of my rental properties, right? And so, I bought this rental property. You know why? I was thinking that was my vehicle.
Yes.
That was my vehicle. If I was in real estate, I should acquire real estate so that I could actually, like everybody says, create rental income, pay off the asset, create passive revenue. And and when I bought this house, I had to put probably $8,000 into it to get it ready. I had to find a tenant. At one point, it was vacant for about 6 months. Jay's own, I think at one point had 30 rentals, right? That was really our path. And if people, and you were saying you like working with business people, I like working with agents that are willing to do one thing, find truth and do the math. Most agents, the problem is they're emotional. They're emotional as it relates to their current situation. And what I think is you have to be, here's the law of thermodynamics says, and this is in the book, The Goal, that you're either moving closer to your goal or further away. And unless you've actually taken the time to write down what your life goals are, and you really know, hey, in 5 years, I'm either going to, most people, let's just say hypothetically, let's just say Mary made up the name. That's my mom's name. Let's say Mary Beth, her goal, she's 30 years old. She wants to quit selling real estate when she's 50. Right now, those people don't have a path. In fact, I remember it would be sad when I'm on the road and I meet people, and this is what they say: I've been doing it for 20 years. I've been doing it for 18 years. This is my 29th year. And then and this is what happens, I swear to you. One guy tells me, but then I got sick and, I'm having to get back into it. And they're at this kind of point of a little bit of desperation, not knowing, because back when it wasn't important, they weren't thinking that way. And what makes me feel extremely well is we got a story of a guy named Dan Hillsman who, like you said, I'm not going to do agent attraction. But what I tell them, I tell people, listen, when I got into real estate, because I was blessed to have Jay as a mentor in 2002, my 6 month in the business, I had 3 agents on my team. And the reason why is, here's the opportunity for an agent. You come in and you do business with whoever you can do. And the reason why is you want to make an income so you don't have to go back to that job, right? That's the first thing. Jay Abraham told us this was Jay Abraham's first thing. When we first had our first call with him, he said, you know what, Michael Reese, Jay Kinder, the problem with real estate is most people get in by default. They go through a divorce, they lose their job. So it's this like default, and now they need to make something work. And then from buyer agent, what holds them back is they want to get listings, because now they realize, shoot, man, if I only work with buyers, I'm working every weekend. So the opportunity scale for an agent when they come in is, oh, I'll start working with listings. And if they do that well, because everybody believes that they're going to do well. Nobody believes I'm going to do poorly, or they wouldn't start. But it is harder than they think. So they figure it out. They ruffle it out. They save up their money to make that investment. Some work, some don't. They buy a tool. They get leads. Whenever maybe they find a great mentor like you, or like I did with Jay, and somebody kind of puts the things together, they make less mistakes, they get listings, now they're successful. What do? They recruit, because they recruit buyer agents. Because if you're a successful listing agent, then you have buyers that still want to call off your signs. You got homeowners that get homeless. You naturally, by default, listings produce buyers, and you've already made your decision, because you're successful, that you're going to go ahead and build a team. And what I tell people is, so now you're in the recruiting business because you get agents. And this was the problem me and Jay had to solve for the last 15 years, where these people who ended up with these big teams, and every year, every 2 years, they lost that number one agent because there was no success path. There was no opportunity. There was a lid. And so that their only opportunity was like, oh, now that I'm successful and I'm doing all your buyers, I want listings. So I'm going to go out on my own and create my team, which now there's this incongruency. There's this culture of, oh, people are leaving. And now the once team owner who was putting all his time, energy, and effort to help that person be successful, train their competition. There's no alignment. And so what that agent does is then they get out their calculator. And like I did, I had 22 agents at a half cap, some at a quarter cap. And I'm like, I'm paying KW $200,000. So now my success path is to go independent, because that's the only other place for me to capture more of the revenue. And so naturally, what people got to understand is, if this isn't, you have to win before you start. You got to do the math. Regardless, you need a plan. And when you do a good plan, the number one thing that me and Jay learned in 2011 was from a guy named Clayton Mass, who built a company with him and his 2 brother-in-laws to 1,000 people, 1,000 employees. And what he said to me and Jay was, this is, I swear, he walked up and he said, hey, Mike, tell me where you're going to be 5 years from now. He was tricking me. He was smarter than me. He'd worked personally with Mike Gerber from the E-Net. And he said, and I started telling him, I was like, 5 years from now, 10 million. We're going to be at 10 million. We had no reason to think we could be at 10 million. And I said, we'll be at 10 million. He was like, oh, cool. Well, where are you going to be 3 years from now? I was like, what? 3 years? Okay, if we're at 10 million, half the time, we're going to be at 6. We'll be at 6 million. And then he goes, okay, where are you going to be at 1 year from now? And what he did was he made me start thinking from 5 years. He said, can I go back to the 5-year question? He said, tell me what your organization looks like. What products do you sell? What people do you have? Yeah. And the reason I share that is because what he was doing is, if he would have told me to lay out a 100-person org chart that had $10 million in revenue and profited $2 million, I couldn't have known how, I couldn't have thought that way. And so what I think people don't understand is, until you can really separate your current reality and start thinking about your future, when you do that, then you start to see the real, okay, if this is, you see the value in EXP if you see where you want to be, because there's not another vehicle that produces equal opportunity. Like I heard someone say, it's financially irresponsible for someone to be at anywhere else but EXP if they've actually done the math and have a real plan for creating wealth and having an exit in their career right now based upon all current options on the table.
Yeah, you said it so well. I mean, that was brilliant. But I will add this to it. Where in our industry, because most real estate agents have one income stream. commissions. That's it. So however you want to do it, you got to take that money and save it forever, right? We have stock and rev share. We have 2 other income streams. So it's really funny. I talk to agents all the time. I said, when are you going to retire? They go 5 years from now. I meet them 5 years later, Mike, and they go, I said, you're still here. Oh yeah, I'm going to retire 5 years from now. I've been hearing that for 35 years. There is no plan. There just isn't. The president of NAR, he wrote an article 2.5 years ago. I had it in the NAR magazine. He said, here's how you retire. And I'm going, good. 6-page article. Here's how realtors retire. You know what it was? Save money. Save money. Buy rentals. Save money. Buy rentals. I went, I don't have to be a real estate agent to save money and buy rentals. I mean, I said, until he puts join EXP Realty as the third one, that's why people are joining us. I felt like writing him an article and saying, have you not heard about EXP? Of course, it was 2.5 years ago. So, we were so small. I said, this is going to allow real estate agents for the first time to make that plan, Michael. It's the first time.
Amazing.
Yeah, I'm so excited. And here's the other thing I was going to tell you. Have you ever said this in your life as an agent? No, you guys just write this down. In May, after I'd been with EXP for 12 months, I'll just be honest with you, I made $11,000 in rev share. I made my first 5-figure check. Now, it took me 12 months. It was early. You guys are doing it like in a month. I don't know. You guys are crazy. But anyway, I made $11,000. And look at Susan. Have you ever said this to your spouse? That's the lowest I'll ever make the rest of my life in a month.
Mm-hmm. I say it every month.
Yeah, but isn't that weird? In other words, you can't say that because our real estate sales, since everybody's on commissions, it goes like this, then you make money, you got to save it for the winter because blah, 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 and then you make less money. Now, a year goes by. I've only been doing this for 2 years. I get a check for $45,000. And I look at Susan, I said, this is going to sound really weird, honey. That's the lowest we'll ever make ever again in our lives. Guys, this is revolutionary. In other words, whatever that dollar figure is, I have agents that are doing the same thing. You guys are just following what your numbers are way bigger, but here's the key. Every agent can do it.
Yep.
Just imagine making $5,000 in a month and going to your spouse and saying, honey, that's the lowest we'll ever make over here. That's passive / residual. So we can go do whatever we want over here. You can send your kids to college on $5,000 a month. Come on.
What's your days look like now? Where do you invest your time?
I invest my time in other people. I always have. Since I started this, I really believe the people that understand what's happening to our industry and how we can affect agents. For example, Michael, you mentioned that teams, train their people, and they're really good ones, take off and go start their own company. At our company, we encourage that. You go, what do you mean? Well, stay here. Don't go to another company. Stay here and grow your team because you're in my rev share team. Just think of that. That's totally revolutionary. My days helping other agents attract other agents. Or, I probably got 4, 5, 6 calls a day.
So you must be driving all around the country.
No. Quite honestly, I live in Puerto Rico now. And I live in Palmas del Mar, Puerto Rico. And I never thought in 4 years, I thought of this the other day, it's so funny. In 4 years, after I sold everything and literally had no residual coming in, right, that I used to have, to build up to a residual, that I'd be on a Zoom call with Michael Reese and Jay Kinder in Puerto Rico.
Not bad. I gotta add one thing. So as y'all probably saw, my kids just came up and gave me a hug this morning. In 18 months, in 22 years in business, the last 18 months, I spent more time with my family than I did in 22 years in selling real estate and having other businesses and other entities. And if the opportunity to become free doesn't get you to move and take action, then hopefully that will, because that's what this is really all about.
Yeah. The freedom to do what you want to do when you want to do it.
Right.
I'm retired, by the way. Everybody goes, well, what's retirement? I said, well, define retirement. I've heard it all the time. Well, I guess it's when you're doing what you want to do, when you want to do it, and you have the money to do it. I said, I've been retired for 4 years now.
Let me, and I'm a podcast junkie. And so I'm going to take this podcast, and that being our first segment, we're talking to the people who don't understand, don't know, maybe first heard about EXP. Let's shift gears here, because on the OneBigFire, most of the people listening, they made the move, Gene. And that's the cool thing about it, is they really see. So let's talk to the agents who have made the move to EXP for a little bit. And, what do you say to somebody who just came over to EXP? They got it. Let's just talk to them. These are our people. They're ready to go. How do you set yourself up? Because what I do is, as me and Jay were very fortunate, we had other income streams and other ways to generate income. A lot of the times, people want to focus on recruiting, but they still have to sell real estate. How do you mentor those people?
Well, I tell them, let's just take it easy. Let's make it, I like the fact that, as you guys have heard me talk before, John Wooden said, it's all about habits. It's all about creating a habit. So a lot of times people go, Gene, I got to make this money. That's fine. Go ahead and sell real estate. Give me 2 hours a week. I just start 2 hours a week. That's it. I want you to attend the lunch and learn, which is an hour and a half. And I want you to take a half an hour texting people to invite them to the lunch and learn. That's it. And I said, you're going to eat lunch anyway. So that hour and a half really isn't, what you're going to do anyway. And they go, you mean 2 hours? I go, 2 hours. Make it a habit. Attend your local lunch and learns. And when I say that, you could attend your local, a lot of people are doing webinars, right? Nationally. I know we are too, and I know you guys are too. So attend the webinar. Just be there, be present, and you will start learning the techniques and scripts to how to talk to agents. It is different because you have to be patient. And then they go, yeah, I can do that. And then they start getting a little success. And I go, well, how about 3 hours a week? How about 4 hours a week? You talk Brent Gove. Brent Gove just took an hour every Friday and just texted people. He says, Gene, I really didn't do that much. I was still selling real estate. I didn't have that much time. So I think we have to carve out that little time. If it's a little extra, make it a little extra.
It's worth it.
Because it's going to be worth it. Seriously. Come on, guys. Like you said, Michael, here's my rent check. I got to send my rent check in, and I'm going to buy a rental. So you're going to spend a Saturday looking for some type of rental in your town so you can make an extra $50 a month. And then the other thing I like to talk about too is for you guys are on fire. I love your group. Guys, we are on the beginning. This is the beginning. You haven't missed the boat. The boat hasn't even gotten in the water. I'm just telling you, a little bit less than 20,000 agents after 4 years here. Guys, we have 2 million realtors in the United States. 2 million. 1.3 in NAR. We have 20,000. We're starting. And I think we figured out we have about 15 to 20 million. We can't figure it out. About 15 million realtors in the world. We have 20,000. It's the beginning. So don't think you've missed the boat. Don't think you have to learn unbelievable skills. I like the fact the first skill we'll teach you is how to invite to an event, to a webinar, or to a lunch and learn. Learn that first. Everybody goes, what should I say? And I said, how about come to the meeting?
How about would you like to have lunch?
Yes. In other words, would you like to have lunch? And a lot of people go, I don't know the scripts. And I said, here's my best script. Hello. You'll take it from there.
Right.
And by the way, as you guys know, texting is the key right now. People are responding to text better than anything. We used to teach telephone techniques. Quite honestly, it's texting. Text them. Say, hey, I was just thinking about you. My favorite text is, hey, Jay, I was just thinking about you. What's going on?
Yep.
What are you going to say to that? I was just thinking about you. They go, yeah, hey, great to connect. What's going on? I don't know. How about we have lunch next Wednesday at 11:30? Where? And then give them the address of where you're going to do the lunch and learn.
So
Right.
tell us about one of the things that I'm a fan of Charlie Munger. Me and Jay, we say we don't model people, we model how they think. And so I'm always trying to distill down the mental models, the way that people make decisions. And one of the mental models I got from you that I thought was great it was in the Key West, was when you shared the whole gate, the mind is like the gate. Tell somebody who's they're in EXP, this whole philosophy around the gate.
Well, I read this in the 90s. Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits, even though it's about this thick, is a great book. It's hard to get through, but there was a quote in there that he said that just stuck with me. I actually made a copy of it. I kept it up on my desk for years because it says, guys, for someone to change, there's a gate of change. And that gate of change, no amount of persuasion, great scripts, boy, you talk better than everybody else, you got the best accent, you know what to say to people. That gate cannot be opened from the outside. It has to be opened from where? The inside. So everybody's gate of change. So really when I'm talking to people, and you're going to talk to a lot of them. I did when I first started here 4 years ago. I laugh. So many of my friends have just recently come 6 months ago. And I talked to them 4 years ago. Their gate was up. They might have been listening to me, but they weren't. I can tell when the gate's up. Well, we've got this going in our life, blah. And they start talking about excuses for not even to listen to me what I'm saying. So guys, if the gate is up, don't try to knock it down, please. Be patient. I know I'm not going to knock it down. I'm not going to drive, oh, wait, I got to tell you about this. Don't you care about your family? That'd be nice. And you start trying to knock the gate down. If they're not ready, be patient. It's the most biggest thing you have to be a great attractor is I'm very, very patient. I wait until the gate is open. This just happened recently. I had a girlfriend of mine I talked to in December. She's a big manager at a real estate company. I thought she was listening, but nothing happened. 6 months later, she calls me and goes, okay, now I'm ready to listen. Right? Now the gate is what? Open. Now she's listening. She admitted to me, yeah, I listened to you for a couple hours, but I really wasn't listening. So the reason I had that up in front of me, a mic for about 3 years, I became a team leader at Keller Williams. And Susan and I had sold real estate in Dallas for 11, 12 years at that time, 14 years. And I knew a ton of the agents. I loved them. I loved Susie at Coldwell Banker. I loved, Ben at Remax. And I go, man, I want Ben to join us. I just love Ben. So I talked to Ben and he'd just kind of brush me off. I'd talk to Mary over it and she'd kind of go, well, no, I'm not interested. And I'm going, you won't even listen to me? I mean, come on, you're friends, right? But I kept that in front of me to go, Gene, you got to be patient. And I learned a skill that I probably didn't have for a long time is the patience of attraction. The fact that is when their gate is open, I'm going to be there. So I text them every month. Though for you guys, just because their gate's not open doesn't mean I don't stay in contact.
Yep.
I text them once a month. Hey, look at what's happened to the stock. Woohoo. Hey, we just got Jay Kinder, Michael Reese. Are you kidding? Wow. Are you kidding? I mean, every big producer we get over, what do? I text my buddies and go, wow, I can't believe we have 4 of the top 11 Remax agents when we're doing this podcast in the whole state of Texas have come over in the last 8 months. You're kidding. Whoa. So I text them with good news. That's all I do. And yeah. I stay in contact, but that gate of change, guys, it's hard. It's hard because we want to see, we're used to getting a buyer, selling a home, taking a listing, marketing it, getting a buyer, selling a home. It has an end. It has a short time frame. Attracting agents, if they're really good, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. I've got some really good people I got after 3.5 years.
One of the things that I don't know if you know Alex Sharfin, he's a good friend of ours. And in 2009, we went to his office and we ended up having a call and he was growing fast. I mean, when he was doing CDPE and what Alex said to me and Jay, I don't know if you remember this, Jay, but he said, good people have deep roots. And so the kind of the metaphor, if you will, is delivering that content is almost like watering. And the more water that you put around the base of a plant, the softer the ground gets and the easier. But if you try to put no water and just you'll rip the branches off. You'll rip the leaves off, right? So if you think about like a 3-foot tree that's been, living in the ground for, a couple years, the best way to yank that sucker out is first deposit, water it. And at some point, that thing will come right out of the ground with a little tug, versus, trying to back the truck up and put a chain to it or something. So, man, I think that's a great metaphor. One quick question. It sounds like, some of the people that I talk to, this is just my experience is they're gun ho. They want to do agent attraction, but they're not plugging into the meetings. They're not going. And this is just, me and Jay have been working with Brian Carruthers, author of Build an Empire. And if you read that entire book, in my opinion, Jay, the number one takeaway is plug into the meetings, plug into the local meeting, plug into the call. But what he says is, as leaders now, where me and Jay are, we should invest our time into the people who go to the meetings. Meaning, because those are, not that you don't want to invest in the other 80%. You can send them an email and invite them to the meeting. But if people aren't willing to get on a plane to work on their entire future and go to Vegas to Goesdale or go to Mexico or go to Orlando, then those people, you don't invest as much as your time because they're not willing to make that investment. That doesn't mean that you won't take the call, but the people that you pour into are the ones that have made the commitment. Because what happens, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, is motivation is easily lost and hard to find. And so having that as a base your first year and saying, this is my first year, I'm committed, and I do know that belief is diminishing. It diminishes over time. And so I'm never going to probably be more excited than today. And so what you have to do is you have to constantly get around those people so that as you start to diminish and kind of, maybe it's not happening as fast for you. One meeting, you can bump into one person, they can share one idea, tell you one story, and you're like, oh, if I would have done that with Chris or with Andy, and then your entire, just like in real estate, one thing in real estate changed my whole real estate business. It was like I was walking through a hall. It was 11 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock. And a guy sits down with me, is going through his little bag with his baggage. He says, hey, man, from Dallas? And I was like, yeah. He's like, cool. You been here before? I was like, no, never been here before. He's like, you need to listen to so-and-so speak. He's going to talk about an ISA. I was like, ISA? What's an ISA? Listen, if you don't have an ISA? I was like, no. He said, do you go after expires and physicals? I said, yeah. He says, how do you do it? I said, I call him every day. He was like, oh, man, there's a better way. There's a better way. And so, like, that one little thing sitting at that chance, I hired Alex Gibson. My business was never the same. And so for me, what I tell people is, if it's Jim Rohn's quote, if you don't have everything you want, it's simply you haven't learned something yet. And Elon Musk says, always assume you're wrong, because that puts you into learner mode. And so, guys, this opportunity, like Gene and Jay, it's the beginning. The biggest constraint you have is your own thinking. So if you think it's too late, if you think it can't be done, whatever you think, and I know that sounds cliche, but the truth is that right now, when I went in May of last year, Gene, I started going, and I saw you. You know where I saw you in May? You know where I saw you?
Yeah.
In Houston.
Yeah.
You know where you had just flown from?
I can't remember.
Colorado. You flew to Houston from Colorado.
Yeah.
In May, when we had that meeting down there. You remember that?
Oh, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah. And I, after that May, I went to Houston. And at the time, Colorado had 45 agents, the whole state. Yeah. I flew there 6 times from that May. And I remember in August, at the end of that year, there was over 400 agents, right? Right. 400 in the state. And so, people got to understand it's not going to take 5 years for 100 agents. And what I tell people who say, well, EXP is not even in my area yet.
Yeah. Biggest opportunity ever.
That's perfect. Yep.
I just had that happen the other day. We have it almost every day, right? Well, you guys don't have any producers here. And I said, yay. Yes. We don't have you. That's what I always tell them. Hey, the biggest thing is, and you brought it up, agents they're used to selling homes. That's it. It has an end date, a quick end date, and then they go to the other one. And they get discouraged. They go, Gene, I'm not attracting anybody. And I said, well, how many texts did you send out this Friday?
Right.
And they go, what do you mean? I said, no, every Friday, spend a half an hour and send out texts. That's it. And they go, really? And I go, yes. Hey, how about you take 10 minutes a day and send out texts? 5 days a week. Not 7, 5 days. I try to get consistency into it, Michael. And once they get consistency, it builds. It builds. It builds. I have a guy just recently, his first year hardly attracted anybody. Didn't stop him. Last month, he's been with us a year and a half. Last month, he added 100 people.
Oof. Dang.
He went from 150 to 250 1 month.
That's amazing.
And it's amazing, right? Because we all know the numbers. It's kind of user gravity. And he goes, but he's been working on it. And I'm proud of him because you just don't stop. And you get that one really good person who gets it, right? You mentioned Jim Rome. The president of Jim Rome was a guy named Don Hobbs. He ran his enterprises for a long time. Oh, Don Hobbs just texted me, by the way, while we were talking. He's with us. Wait, we have the guy that used to run Jim Rome's. Are you kidding? He's with us, by the way. I didn't answer it because I'm on the podcast with you guys, right? But we've got the Don Hobbs. I had to mention him because he's, the Don Hobbs. But here's the thing, guys. The people we're dealing with know that this is a game changer. This is not a little thing. This is not just another real estate company. This is going to revolutionize the way real estate brokerages are run. Period. End of story. When I say run, they're going to be run by agents now. Sorry for all you owners. Sorry for all you people that said, well, wait. I own this little thing over here. I have 100 agents. I said, well, guess what? Sooner or later, your agents are going to hear about EXP. And you're going to lose your top 5 agents. It's really what's going to happen. And everybody goes, how do you know what's going to happen? I said, well, sometimes in life you can see the future. And literally I saw it 4.5 years ago. And I told Susan, see this guy, Glenn Sanford, he invented a model that I invented. Wait, okay. Look at, I can be Johnny he can be Johnny Carson. I'll be Ed McMahon. I'm okay. I'll just sit and laugh because he gets all the credit because Glenn does. He deserves it. By the way, it was hard to start a corporation in 2013 and he paid $500,000 to do a reverse merger. Mm-hmm. All these things that we would have had to take time and effort. Who's going to copy us? Nobody.
Right.
Let me ask you this as a segment to the last section of this, because I want to be super respectful of your time. Let's talk about the next 5 years. Where do you see EXP going? I've seen it. I think I'm the only one that can actually see it. I know you guys see it. I know Brent Gove sees it. Rob Flick sees it. Scott and Tracy Lewis see it. Because we've been in it long enough and we can see the trajectory because of the quality. Here's the key. The quality of agents that are joining this company has never been done before, period. When I said 4 of the top 11 RE/MAX people joined us in the last 8 months, they've already attracted another 100 RE/MAX agents to the state of Texas. I mean, it's just boom, boom, boom. The next 5 years, since I'm on the board of directors, I can't talk numbers because I am on the board of directors. I got to be mum as far as where I think the numbers are going to go.
Right.
I just know it's moving faster than anything's ever done before. It is a Netflix. It is an Amazon. It's almost like we've invented a .com. Michael, how fast did those companies grow? Mm-hmm. Right? Faster than everybody ever thought, because we have a disruptive technology called the Cloud Office, our Cloud Campus with Verbella. So I just envision in 5 years, I'm actually letting myself go beyond where I've ever thought. I have to get out of my own way. Everybody says, Gene, what's your goals? I said, I don't have any. They go, what do you mean? I just know where we're going.
Right.
And you better get on the ship because I can see it. I know where we're going. And everybody goes, well, you'll get to here and you'll plateau. And I go, no.
And maybe you can talk a little bit about, Neighborly and maybe a little bit about the buyer, the stuff that maybe you can or maybe you can't. But those are some interesting, things discussions we have kind of publicly amongst ourselves about some of the things we're doing to help not only provide stability in the model, but also create even better advantages and a better value proposition, not only for our agents to attract to, but really for the consumer as well.
Well, I had an agent yesterday on a call, and he says, well, it's all about selling real estate, and you guys don't sell real estate. And I said, whoa, 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 whoa. I had to stop him on the call. I said, excuse me, our production went up by 220% last year. I said, are you kidding? Right. I said, we're going up by over 220%. So we're going to have the tools. I really don't even know what they're going to be, Michael. To be honest, we are working on so many projects right now to help real estate agents be current in the market, right? Have an iBuyer program. We're going to have that for people. We're going to have it to be able to compete, right? We're just going to have it. Everything that an agent needs. Of course, everybody has a CRM, right? But quite honestly, do you have it for free? Do you have KV Core for free? No. I still talk to agents and they go, well, I'm using KV Core or Sync or Boomtown and I'm paying. And I go, well, ours is free. And they go, what? You had me at KV Core. So the products that agents are going to need, we think about it all the time because who is our customer? The agent. Who is our partner? The agent. First time in the industry, the customer and the partner are together. First time ever. Like you say, Jay, it's aligned. So whatever it's going to be, I know Glenn, I love talking to Glenn. Every time I talk to Glenn, he goes, oh, Gene, we're working on this. I go, hey, just go. Just go, because he's techie, right? We want to be on the forefront, whatever it is, to help our agents just sell more product. That's all there is to it. Land, commercial, residential, condos, doesn't matter what it is, right? Leases. A lot of big states, I talk to agents, all they do is leases. Right? New York City, Miami. Everybody thinks about selling homes. Hey, you got to get in the leasing game too. But anyway, that's what we're going to do. I think the next 5 years are going to be transformable. If you have a bricks and mortar office, how are you going to compete with us? I just can't see it. We have 450 employees that work with us right now. We have over 80 people on our tech team. 80. That are thinking of how we're going to, trying to develop new products along the way. So I just think it's going to be 5 years from now, we won't even recognize the industry as far as tools that we're going to be using. That's my opinion. How about you guys? What do you think? You guys are talking to agents.
I'll tell you what, man, I saw a video back in May of last year. A gentleman presented it, and this is what got me because, one of the things that at the time, like you said, you like to work with the people at the highest level. First of all, I see people, once they get mentoring and coaching and they figure out how to generate a customer, they naturally build a team and they start thinking bigger. And so many teams that currently exist started as solo agents, and they worked their way there. Because we worked with a lot of those teams, I saw, and a lot of those people would then always come to Jay and me and say, hey, how do I go independent? That was like the core problem that they had, and they needed help. They were scared. Because they didn't see the value anymore, right, of where they were. And so I was watching a video when I got into EXP. I'd been in it about 6 months, and I saw a guy doing a presentation. And I swear to you, I wish if I could find it, he explained it as this was the way for you to build your own personal virtual brokerage that processed all your transactions so that you didn't have to be the broker, have the liability. You had the same potential upside, but you could go into every single city, even if you only had one agent in the city. Who would go build a brokerage for one agent? Nobody, right? And so essentially, you could provide whatever was helping you be successful, which I knew as a coach that you could help agents across state lines because that's what we did on a phone call. We'd get on the phone. We'd tell them to go buy these tools. A lot of the times it'd take them 4 months or 6 months into their next closing. That's why I like EXP. They get it right out the gate. They don't have any constraints, which a budget in theory is a constraint in itself. And so we could have them, like some agents, like they're trying to open a McDonald's, but they don't want to put in the playground, the drive-through, or buy the French fry machine until they have a closing. So they have this half business. No, you need to have everything day one in order for you to be successful. And so where I see, here's my prediction. Let me ask you a question. How many people in South Dakota, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Denver, Colorado, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Little Rock, Arkansas. How many people in those cities had agents making 6 figures in passive or residual revenue a year ago? In just those cities, none, right? At EXP, none. So what happens is, what's going to happen is 12 months from now, every city in North America is going to have proof. Yeah. And the thing is, that's what happens is they couldn't sell the elevator until they showed proof. Mm-hmm. And so it's not going to be some video on YouTube or some story in Milwaukee. In your backyard, you're going to see that guy buy the nicest house in your town. You're going to see him buy the nicest car, and you're going to wonder why he's always in flip-flops. That's what's going to happen. You're going to wonder why he's always in flip-flops and how the hell he's doing it. And then you're going to see his compadre. You're going to see his compadre, right? You're going to see his compadre, and it's going to be, you'll be like, and not only is he winning, it looks like his whole damn team's winning. Right. Why do they all have a new car?
Yeah. Why are they all traveling together?
Yeah, well, and so what's going to happen is we're going to go from like these, the 80-20 rule, that 20% that was only 200 people nationwide is going to be, that 20 is going to be 20% of 30,000 people. And so that proof is going to be there. And here's what's really going to happen. What I think, and this is my big prediction, you mark this, I swear to you, those guys that are making 2 or 5 or 8,000, you're going to see a lot of people happy at Christmas time when the market slows down. When they used to go Christmas shopping at Ross when their deal fell apart and, their agent left and they're freaking stressed, you're going to see a lot happier people. So you're going to see in your market, you're going to see people that are having, they're winning, and they're winning 12 months out of the year, not just, when school gets out till school starts. They're not making it in having a good month in September and giving it back all in November, right? So you're going to see people who actually start building wealth in your local community, in your backyard. And here's the bottom line is then you're going to see people who are taking that $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 that I used to have to be scared to invest because I wanted to hold on to it and play defense in the winter. They're going to be playing offense, and they're going to be investing in the next traffic strategy, the next thing that you did that work that you should have done a year ago. They're going to be doing it because they're going to have the money to invest in their business. They're not going to be playing defense and trying not to lose. They're only going to be playing to win. And when you have people playing to win with money to invest with, you're going to get a disproportionate share of the pie, and that's going to create momentum in the marketplace, and the stories that are going to be once just told are going to be witnessed. And at some point, because we already know people make a move every 3 years, they're going to make that call, like you said, Gene, that, you know what, my gate's open. So I'm going to say the next 3 years is going to be Operation Electric Gate. The gates are just going to be starting to open all across North America.
That's great.
That's so good.
How about you, Jay? What do you think? What's the next 5 years?
It's hard to top that, what Mike just said. I mean, it's brilliant. It's exactly what's going to happen, because it is, it's the proof that is what's making a lot of people see it. And, if you're not having that in your area, which you will soon, then, it's harder for people to really get bought in. So totally bought into that. I think one of the things that I think that we're going to see a shift to, and I feel like it's starting to happen, and we've had a ton of interest from large independents making transitions over to EXP, and it's always a challenge, and there's always just some hang up in terms of how you approach this large number of agents. If you're a multi-office, things of that nature. I think that with technology and middleware and our ability to make a transition a lot smoother, you're going to see a lot more of the bigger, larger companies. Obviously, we just had 2 huge, jumps over from Exit Realty. And so I think we're going to just see more and more of that. We've had lots of conversations. It just seemed like we couldn't quite get things, transitioned over. And I think that's going to get easier. And we're going to start seeing bigger, because we dealt with, and kind of a lot of the context we're talking about is people who were a solo agent, built a team, built a really big mega team, then went independent. But I'm talking about those independent, the ones that are independent, and if you're independent and you're operating in sales to offset the fact that this, your business is not profitable without you being in sales, it's a no-brainer. Those people will get. I think we're going to start seeing a lot more larger scale move-overs. That would be my prediction.
Yeah. I just talked to a guy that just here that sold his company 2 years ago for millions. And he says, I guess I shouldn't have sold my company. I should have just brought them all over to EXP. He says, look, because when I showed him my checks, he went, oh, geez, I kind of blew it, didn't I? And I said, could you please tell your independent buddies, don't just sell it for a check, sell it for generational wealth.
Right.
Go to EXP. I agree with you guys. I think the other thing that's going to happen is normal real estate agents, normal. We're getting a lot of the top ones now, but normal real estate agents that are doing 2 million, 3 million, 4 million in sales all across the nation are going to come on like crazy.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be the ones that benefit the most, because if they can make 2, 3, 4,000 a month in residual, life-changing.
Right.
I could ring you texts right now that could make you cry on the phone. I mean, seriously, if I put it on there, from people that have never had any money at all in their lives. And now they're being able to have stock, that's equity in their lives, and residual and revenue share. And those two things have set them free. They literally text me all the time and go, Gene, thank you, thank you. I said, thank Glenn. I didn't do anything. I just introduced you. I said, I'm just Ed McMahon. He's Johnny Carson. I'm just back here laughing, going, so they are those normal agents. I agree with you, Michael. What's going to happen is now they come along. They realize, wait, why'd all these top people go? And they'll be coming.
I think that's in crossing the chasm, right, Jay?
Yes, it is. It's crossing the chasm. I mean, that's where it happens. I mean, we got the early adopters. That's still where we are, I believe. We're still in the early adopter phase. But once you start to get that middle of the market, it just tips over and you couldn't stop. You couldn't stop it right now if you wanted to. I mean, it's fun, man. It's a blast. People are having the most fun in their lives. They're making the most money they've ever made. They're being around people that care about them genuinely and want to help them. I mean, it's just a better way of doing business, better way of living life.
Total alignment. I love your total alignment talk. I think that was the best one I've heard in a long time, Jay, it's just total alignment.
Right.
Well, Gene, I appreciate you jumping on. I know that you, for real, you just always giving back. And I think that there's no such thing as money. Me and Jay learned this in 2009 on the roof of the Hard Rock Cafe in San Diego. A guy named Sam Bell told us, your goal should be to add as much value as you can to one person's life and learn to do that to as many people as possible. That there's no such thing as money. Money is just the score of the value you created. And so you definitely ran up the scoreboard, brother. And we just appreciate the opportunity to be on the field and been able to play with you.
Yeah.
Well, I'll leave you with this today. I read a quote. I'm like you guys. I just kind of take pictures when I see something really cool. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah.
And I just took a picture of this today. To the world, you might be one person, but to one person, you might be the world.
I love that.
And guys, we can affect one agent at a time. We can be the world to them. Mm-hmm. And I want all of us at EXP to never forget that. Yep. And go have some fun. Go have a lot of fun, not just a little fun.
Yeah.
And affect people's lives like no other. Thank you guys for letting me be on. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Gene. Thank you so much.
Take care, guys.